I don't know. Are you all settled with a kishur for the shiur? Because
no, I did not get it.
So I think they're not going to send it. They're not going to send it every week. It's the same. It's the same kishur every week.
Okay.
Okay. So just save it somewhere.
The same code numbers?
Yeah. Okay. I don't think you have to press a code, by the way.
You do. I mean, for us to get it on my computer, I have to press the code.
Uh-huh. Okay. In any case, it's going to be the same code number, the same, it's the same attachment, it's the same kishur.
Okay. So I'll save it.
Every week it's going to be the same thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So let's start. So last week, we started with מכתב מאליהו, Rav Dov Dessler, Rav Eliezer Dessler, and the main theme from last week was talking about the Beinoni. A Beinoni is not a person that he is we can say about him that he's a Beinoni person. The Beinoni is a graph. Okay, it's the graph of the person that sometimes makes good choices and sometimes he makes bad choices. Okay, that's what we spoke about mainly last week.
But that's almost all of us.
Of course. Of course. We always make good choices. We also always make bad choices. Okay, that's all of us. זה נכון מאוד. It's 100%. Okay? So Rav Dessler says, what can we do in order to be a tzaddik? What can we do in order to make our choices at every minute, to make a good choice, to be a tzaddik? A tzaddik is the one that makes a good choice, okay? Many choices that we take are choices that we do without thinking about them too much, in a natural way, in an automatic way, okay? Many choices. I want to give you an example. I was walking on the yeshuv, I think it was on Shabbat, and two women were standing and talking, and after I passed them, I told myself, why didn't you go over and say Shabbat Shalom? You could have said hello to the lady. And my automatic choice, I think, was a bad choice, because I didn't walk over and say Shabbat Shalom. I told myself, they're talking, I'm not going to butt in, I'm not going to bother them, whatever, I'll call her afterwards. But I think, when I look at it from a distance, I think that was a bad choice.
Not necessarily, because you weren't interfering in their private conversation. You don't know if it was a private conversation. I don't know if I had seen that situation, I might have just waved at them, you know.
So I didn't even do that.
You know, just because I wouldn't want to interfere in their personal conversation.
But I just thought to myself that it would have been nice if I would have waved or just said, hey, Shabbat Shalom, and something. Gone on. But I didn't do that. So that was like a choice that I made, and it was a wrong choice, and it was in my, like, not thinking about it too much. I thought about it more afterwards than before.
Yes.
So there are many choices, even, I don't know, like sometimes I think about stopping for trumpistim.
Right.
It's
I don't
something
do that anymore. I don't take a stranger in my car because of the COVID.
נכון. So sometimes I tell myself, you can stop and just put on a mask, and he'll put on a mask and open up the windows. אבל באוטומט, I don't do that. And it's a choice that you don't sit and think about and then decide how you're going to behave, how you're going to act. So almost at every minute, we have many, many choices that we're making, but we call it it's on the automatic pilot.
Right.
Without thinking too much about it. And how do we answer? How do we answer that problem? What is the answer? What can we do in order to change things? And Rav Dessler says, all you have to do is just continuously doing mitzvot, doing the right thing. Okay? כל הזמן שבן אדם ירגיל עצמו במצוות. I think I brought it for you on the paper. If you have the papers, you can look at it. I have no idea how to put it on the masach over here on the Zoom. So I'll just read it, okay? It's number 1. והעצה שיעשה מעשים טובים, ירבה במעשים טובים, עוד לפני ניסיון ורגע הבחירה. If you're gonna get yourself used to doing mitzvot, used to doing good deeds, before you even have to choose, עד שנעשה לו הרגל, it's gonna become a very good habit. Okay? Right. Even like a chok is a rule. It's like going to be a rule of his own. ואז יהפוך להכרה פנימית. And then it's going to become something internal that's going to help you make, always to choose the right choice, always to make the right decision. Okay? על ידי כוח ההרגל, making it into a habit. You know, you probably are all familiar with what Chazal say, אחרי המעשים נמשכים הלבבות. נכון? After you do a certain action, a certain deed for a long time, at the end you enjoy doing it. I want to give you an example from my son that he started this year yeshiva. He's done with high school. And he told me, Ima, I really don't like learning Gemara. I hate it. He says, לא נעים לי להגיד, but I hate it. And he says, I don't know why. I finished so many years in yeshiva tichonit and I don't like learning Gemara, but now I'm going to yeshiva for yeshiva gvoa before the army. I hope I learn how to like it. And every week I ask him, how's it going? Whatever. How's the Gemara? So he says, I'm learning so much Gemara. I think I'm becoming a lover of the Gemara. I started enjoying it, actually. Would you believe it? So this is exactly what Chazal say. אחרי המעשים נמשכים הלבבות. After you do a certain deed for a long time, after you commit yourself to doing it, at the end you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy doing it. So Rav Dessler is using this as a suggestion for us to make ourselves to learn good habits of doing the right thing, of good mitzvot, and then at the end it's going to become a habit. You won't even have to think about it, and then you'll find yourself always making the right choice. Okay? I'm going to continue reading from the paper. כל עבודת אלול היא להתלהב ולהרבות במעשי חיזוק. All the avodah that we have, our work on Chodesh Elul, is to be mitlahev, to be enthusiastic, to be, what's a good word for mitlahev?
Enthusiastic.
Excited,
enthusiastic about doing good deeds, מעשי חיזוק, they're strengthening us. בהתלהבות גדולה, very much excitement. צריך להתחזק ולהרבות במעשים טובים ובדקדוקי מצוות. You have to try as much as possible to do מעשים טובים. אף על פי שעדיין אינם לפי מדרגתו, even though he doesn't feel from his heart that this is really what he wants to do. כי שינוי דרכנו, because changing our habits, our ways, מהקצה אל הקצה, from one extreme to the second extreme, מהקצה אל הקצה, יכשיר את לבבינו, it's going to work on our heart, ויפתח לפנינו אפשרות תשובה נכונה. And this is what's going to bring us to doing תשובה נכונה. Okay, to doing the right type of tshuva, of getting ourselves used to getting to the right choice, to making the right choice. Okay, so we just finished off what we said last week, and very interesting. I brought you last week. I didn't write it down on your paper this week because I don't want to put too much time into it. But very interesting. Rav Steinsaltz, zichrono livracha, he wrote a beautiful essay about Chazara B'Tshuva, about what happens when we do all these good deeds. When I was a little girl in Gan, every single day, Chodesh Elul, when we came home from Gan, I came home with different arts and crafts assignments of להדביק, on the מאזניים. איך אומרים מאזניים?
Scale?
Scale, yeah, on the scale. Okay, do you know those pictures? Are you familiar?
Right, a balance, a scale, yes.
Yeah. So on one side, you should put a lot of money for tzedakah, and you should listen to your mother, and you should always smile to people on the street, and help the lady cross the road, and help her with her bags, and all kinds of these different nice actions that we can do. As a little girl, that's how we grew up. Of this is what Rosh Hashanah means, Yamim Noraim, just doing a lot of mitzvot. And Rav Steinzal said, if that's not the aim. The aim is not to do the different mitzvot. The aim is to do tshuva, to find out who I am, who I want to be, what is my tafkid here in the world, okay? What are the kelim, what are the gifts that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me in order to carry out my assignment in the world? And then, Be'ezrat Hashem, I should find out, after doing this talich tshuva, that what I want to do is a lot of maasim tovim. Okay? This is what Rav Steinzal says. He says, okay, that when we come back to ourselves, I'm going to read it to you. כי אין התשובה עומדת על עשיית מעשים טובים. תשובה is not about doing the right action. על יותר מצוות, על יותר תפילה, על יותר דבקות. This is not תשובה, doing more, okay? אלא אם כן יש בכך משום תשובה אל העצמות שלנו. ואם לאו אין זו תשובה. הרב שטיינזל says, only if it's right for you to do it, then it's tshuva. If you're coming back home to yourself, to your neshama, and you find out that this is what you want to do, this is tshuva. Just doing good deeds, just doing mitzvot and davening more, v'chule, v'chule, that is not called tshuva, according to the Rav Steinzal. Okay? Only if it's really meduyak for you, if this is what you feel that you want to do. Okay? So I thought it was very interesting to bring the Rav Dessler on one side that he
doesn't that contradict Rav Dessler?
Exactly.
And he talks about don't do things. It's not. What does that mean?
נכון, רגע, אז אנחנו נמצא לזה תשובה היום. חשבתי שזה מאוד מעניין, הרב דסלר מצד אחד, תעשו תשובה, תעשו מצוות, תעשו מעשים טובים, and on the other hand, we have הרב שטיינזלץ says, אם זה לא אני הפנימי אמיתי שלך, אז זה לא נקרא תשובה. Okay, so we have a nice contradiction here to start our shiur. Okay? Okay, so I'm just going to add one more thing that Rav Dessler says, because we are focusing on Rav Dessler. He says that all the maasim that you do, he wants to suggest that they should all be done בצנעה. Okay? אין הברכה שורה, אלא במה שסמוי מן העין. Whatever you do, do it בצנעה, do it for yourself. Okay, we're not going to go into that too much because we don't have time for that. But I want to go on. Okay, Rav Dessler says like this. He says, first of all, you remember we started out with the 3 books that are open up on the table before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzadikim, V'Areshaim, V'Abinoniyim, and we have a different midrash that it talks about Sefer HaChaim v'Sefer HaMetim. Okay? So, first of all, Rav Dessler explains very nicely. He says, what does it mean, Sefer HaChaim and Sefer HaMetim? He says, according to the person's inner will, he is called either a chai or a met. And he says like this. He says there are many people that they live in some kind of a dream. Okay? This is relating basically to Sefer HaMetim. People that live in some kind of a dream that everything is about them, everything is about their goodwill, about what they want to do in life, about their different tavot. Whatever they do, whatever they think is all about themselves. And he says a person like this, he lives in a dream. He's not living in the real world. So actually, he is like a met. Do you remember a few years ago when we did Midrashay Chazal and we learned about Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya? That he used to go to every woman in the world and he was...
A prostitute.
Yep, that's
what he did.
That's what he did, definitely. He had to cross Sheva Ne'arot, and do you remember we did that whole midrash about him? And what helped him understand that he has to do tshuva? When he understood that the world doesn't need him. because he's living in some kind of an imaginary world, that his whole world is about his ta'ava for arayot. All what he's looking for is another prostitute and a better prostitute. And what helps him understand that it's time to do tshuva is when the prostitute herself tells him that you're never going to do tshuva because the world doesn't need you. What is the world getting from you? So he was living in some kind of imaginary world. And this is what Rav Dessler says, Chayehem b'dimayon havlutam bilvad. They're living in some kind of imaginary world that everything is about them. And this is called a met, even though he's alive and he's walking around between us. He's not connected to this world. He's like a met to this world. And what is going to be the Sefer HaChaim? What would you say? What is the definition of a person that is a chai? Somebody have an observation, something? A Sefer of a chai, a person that is alive, is a person that has an inner essence, that it wants to give something to the world. Okay? He's living his life right now. He's asking himself, what can he give to the world? What is ma mashma'ut shelo b'chaim? Okay? What is the reality that I am living in, and how can I relate to this reality? איך אני יכול לתת למציאות, לתת לחיים? Okay? So now let's continue to the next step. I think this is number 2 on the paper that I sent out to you. No, that was number 2 already. I read it. No, let's read now number 2. Sorry. Okay? באלול נדרשת התחזקות חיצונית במעשים. Like he said before, remember, Rav Dessler said you have to do many, many מעשים. התחזקות בהתלהבות, but it should also be very, everything should be done in excitement, enthusiastic about it. אבל באותה שעה, but at the same time, נדרשת גם התפתחות ביראה ממש. At the same time, while you're doing the maasim tovim and you're doing it in itchazkut and itlaavut, excited about it, you also have to strengthen your yirat Hashem. Okay? And now he's going to explain a little bit how. He's going to say, he says like this, היראה צריכה להיות אמיתית ועמוקה וחודרת עד תהום נבחי נפש האדם. The excitement that you are doing the mitzvot shouldn't be just מהפנים לחוץ, not artificial. It should be all the way down deep into your heart. This is the יראה, the excitement, the יראה, נפש האדם, it should all be connected. אבל רק ליראה יש אחיזה בפנים, ובלעדיה לא יועילו כל המעשים החיצוניים. So we're starting now בעצם לגשר על הפער בין הרב שטיינזלץ לרב דסלר. Because Rav Dessler is adding here another layer, you would say. It's not enough just to do the maasim. Only to do the maasim זה דבר מאוד חיצוני. It should also be connected inwards. Inside us, it should be connected all the way down to our heart. Okay? And now he wants to introduce, he's going to explain to us, Rav Dessler is going to explain to us, how can we get deep down into our heart like that? B'chol ofen, it's demandment from the person, okay?
I have a question. Do you mean that it has to be sincere? It just can't be, like you said, artificial. It has to be really sincere.
Nachon, exactly.
Omek halev. It's okay.
Omek halev is very sincere. Nachon?
Yeah.
So. Okay, so now, עכשיו בוא נתפור את הדברים ביחד. Let's understand what he's saying to us, Rav Dessler. Rav Dessler he's saying like this. He's saying, a person has his inner heart, okay? The place of being honest, of being sincere, of acknowledging who you are and what you are, your being, your essence, v'chulei. And on the other hand, a person also has his outer side. What is the outer side? What is the chitzoniyut of the person? When Rav Dessler talks about chitzoniyut, He's not talking about how you look and what you're wearing. The chitzoniyut is anything that a person can say and do that we can see, that we can observe, okay? Which means all our machshavot, not our machshavot, sorry, all our diburim, nachon? When a person speaks, then you can hear what he's saying. It's something that you can relate to. When a person does something, all his actions, המעשים של הבן אדם, זה החיצוניות של הבן אדם. המעשים שלו והדיבורים שלו. Okay, this is the chitzoniyut. And Rav Dessler says, he says, when a person realizes that he's doing the wrong thing, okay, כשהחיצוניות שלו נמצאת בסתירה לפנימיות, on one hand, יש לו מעשים לא טובים. If we're going to go back to Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya, he realized that all his actions, his whole essence is about having pleasure in his life. היה סתירה. He understood from inside that it's the wrong thing. It took him many, many years to acknowledge that, and only the lady that he went to, and he had to cross 7 different שבע נערות וכיס דינרים. He had to pay a lot of money, and he had to sacrifice his money and also his well-being, because it was dangerous in those days to go across שבע נערות. It wasn't like today that you get on a boat or you get on a plane and you cross the שבע נערות and the ocean. In those days, it was much more dangerous. And only then, when he got to the lady, and she is the one that was able to change the way he thought about things. Nachon? And only over there did he understand the big stira, the big
contradiction.
Is, I don't know if contradiction is if it's a strong enough word for what he understood there. He only understood over there what a big gap maybe between his neshama, between his inner essence, between his nefesh ha'adam, between his neshama, and between his chitzoniyut and what he's doing. Only then when he understood the big contradiction was he able to do tshuva. And this is what Rav Dessler says. In order to do tshuva, first of all, you start doing a lot of good actions. Second of all, it should be connected inside. Why should it be connected inside? In order to feel busha, to feel ashamed, to feel the contradiction, the big gap between the two. If you don't feel the gap, if you don't feel the contradiction, you won't be able to do tshuva. A lot of people know in their heads that they're doing the wrong thing, but they don't feel with their heart, הם לא מרגישים בעומק הנשמה שלהם את הפער הזה, ואז הם לא יכולים לעשות תשובה. אוקיי? אתם איתי? אתם מבינות? Is that a yes?
Yes, yes.
That's a yes.
Okay. So Rav Dessler is taking us here through the different stages of doing tshuva. The first stage is doing many maasim tovim in order to choose right. But afterwards, we'll talk about our choices, okay? First, do many good actions, many mitzvot. Then, make sure to connect them to your inner heart. When everything will be connected inside to your heart, to your neshama, to your mashmaut atzmit, then you're going to realize what a big busha, how ashamed you are, because there's such a big gap between your chitzoniyut, your actions, and what your neshama wants. Okay? Derech Agav, let me just finish the story about Rabbi Eliezer ben Dordaya. Once that he made tshuva, the gap was so big, the contradiction was so big between his neshama and between his body, that his body couldn't hold his neshama anymore. And then יצתה נשמתו והוא מת, and he died, okay? Because his body couldn't hold this big neshama anymore. But that is tshuva that we're not looking for. We're looking for tshuva as a process, as a ta'alich, le'at le'at, shalav achei shalav. Rabbi Eliezer ben Dordaya made tshuva in 1 hour.
But the idea of that was who cannot et olama b'sha'ah echad, which means that Very
הוא
sad.
קנה את עולמו בשעה אחת, בקי, אבל זה לא מה שהשם רוצה מאיתנו.
לא, בטח שלא.
הקדוש ברוך הוא רוצה שנעשה תשובה ונחיה בתוך התשובה. We should live life of תשובה. Not to do תשובה in 1 hour, זבנג וגמרנו, and he's out of here. That's not what Hashem is looking for. And the Nevi'im, they all tell us that the תשובה ושב מדרכו הרעה וחיה. הקדוש ברוך הוא wants us living here. And that's why Rabbi Yehuda Anasi was crying at the end of that story. And he was crying and he said, this is not really what Hashem wants. Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya did a tshuva heroic. June, that's a word for you.
He's not here, I don't think.
She's not here? I can't see everyone, so I don't see everyone.
Here.
Okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want this kind of tshuva. He wants a tshuva that we should do in stages according to where we are. Okay, a long process. Chaim shel tshuva. Okay, but that was a different midrash, and I just wanted not to leave it in the middle. So why should a person not be ashamed of his chata'im? Why do you think a person doesn't have the busha? He did a bad maaseh, הוא עשה חטא, למה שהוא לא יתבייש? יש לכם איזשהו רעיון?
Pride, gava.
Pride, okay. Yafeh, that's a very good answer, so we're going to get back to that. What else? Maybe he didn't realize, he didn't know, okay? He didn't know that you're not allowed to turn on light on Shabbat. He grew up in a house that's not Shomer Shabbat, or maybe he didn't realize, he didn't see. יש הרבה עבירות בשוגג, נכון? אז אין לנו על זה בושה. What else? There's one more very important thing that I want to say, that we spoke about it a lot when we were learning about from Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi Nachman tells us many times that the Yetzer Hara has many malbushim. What does it mean? That the Yetzer Hara doesn't tell you, come, even though you're fleishiks now, eat something milchiks, right? He's not going to say, because we're smarter than that. We're on a higher level. We want to lakpid ala mitzvot, and we're not going to do that. So what does Yetzer Hara tell us? Yetzer Hara says, no, you finished eating by 2. You didn't start at 2. You already finished by 2. So now it's 5 o'clock. And even though you basically started at 2, he's going to try to give you a good ti'un. He's going to try to convince you that you don't remember exactly. And that's why you can eat already, the ice cream. Okay? Or Yetzer Hara is going to say, he's going to always try to convince us with things from our brain, from our machshava. Okay, I think I gave you many times the example, but I think it's a very good example. When I was working with children that they already left drugs, they stopped using drugs, and in our school, anyone who was using drugs wasn't able to participate. He had to go home for I don't remember how long it was. He can't use drugs in school, because then for all the other children, it's very, very hard. But we knew that they were all using drugs at home or whatever. אבל בבית ספר ממש היה אסור. And one day, a very rich student wanted to join our school. And of course, our school, just like most of the schools in Israel, didn't have money. And we were very short. Our budget was very, very small. And I told them, hey, look, we can't accept this child because he tells us that he's using drugs b'mutzhar. He's telling us that he's using drugs, so we can't accept him because the rest of the students aren't using drugs, even though we know that sometimes they do it at home or at parties or whatever. It's different than a child coming and saying, I'm on drugs, please accept me to the school as I am. And he said, no, we're an open place. There's room for everybody in our school. We're very accommodating. We want to help everybody. And then I remember that I told him it's very wrong. It's not fair to our students. זה ממש יצר הרע that is using a very, say, idealizatia. Idolizing, you would say in English? Is that the right way to pronounce it?
Yes,
okay. idolizing that there's room for everyone, we want everybody, we want to help everybody. זה באמת מצווה, זה מאוד יפה לקבל את כולם, אבל לא על חשבון האחרים. And this is the way יצר הרע works on us. יצר הרע takes something, and it's like a caricatura, and he shows us only the good part about it. He doesn't look at the other sides of it. Yetzer hara has many different malbushim, and that's why people sometimes אין להם בושה. הם לא מתביישים בחטאים שלהם, because יצר הרע says, אין לך מה להתבייש. You did the right thing. Maybe he doesn't agree with you, but you did the right thing. You accepted this kid to school, and he has a lot of money. He's going to help us now, and we could do a lot of good things with the good money. Okay? So a lot of times, הבן אדם לא מתבייש, כי הוא בעצם מסתיר את החטאים מעצמו. He is not really willing to look at the truth, but להסתכל באמת בעיניים, to really look at what he did and say that was the wrong thing that I did. I also want to add another thing, is that today, מאוד מנסים לעודד שלא נתבייש בשום דבר, no בושה, no בושה. I don't know if you remember, but there was, I don't remember how many years ago it was, but it was many years ago, that ביבי נתניהו הוא כבר היה המנהיג שלנו, הוא היה ראש ממשלה, and then he came out and he said that he was betraying his wife. Do you remember it? And then there was a קלטת הלוהטת. Do you remember that story? One of the katavim found a scoop about Bibi, that he was going with a different woman or whatever. And Bibi didn't want it to come out in the news as against him. So what did he do? He came out and he admitted it, kval am ve'eda, and he told everyone that this is a story that he had. But now he left the other lady and whatever. אבל זה בא ממקום של חוסר בושה. Look at the הפגנות of all the ההומואים והלסביות. הם צועדים ברחובות, they go בכנסת, הם רוצים להקים מפלגה משלהם. מאוד מעודדים היום, today the education is לא להתבייש. You did something wrong, לא נורא, לא צריך להתבייש. אבל יש בזה אמירה מאוד לא חינוכית, because a person, if he's not going to feel the בושה, he won't be able to do tshuva. This is what Rav Dessler wants to tell us here. If you don't feel busha, if you don't feel ashamed with what you did, so then how are you going to do tshuva? And today, it's very mekubal to say, I made a mistake, and you can go out in front of the television and all the tikshoret and say, yes, I made a mistake, and that's it. And kilu, there's nothing to be ashamed about. And Rav Dessler wants to change this, and he wants to say that without busha, you can't do tshuva. And that's why he says the last sentence, אבל ידיעה בלי הרגשת הלב נחשבת כאין וכאפס. Just to know that you did the wrong thing, that you did a chet, if it's not מלווה, if it's not accommodated together with busha, then it's worthless. Okay?
Does Steinzeltz have a comment about that?
No, but לאט לאט we're going to find Steinzeltz and Rav Dessler going together.
Okay.
Okay? I actually want to take you back to the Gemara, to Masechet Brachot. Let me see what number it is by you. Masechet Brachot, for whoever's looking on the paper, is number 4. Okay? כל העושה דבר עבירה ומתבייש בו, מוחלין לו כל עוונותיו. Anyone who does an avera, a chet, okay, and he feels ashamed about it, what does the Gemara says? Mochalim lo al kol avonotav. Not only that avera, not only that chet that he did is nimchal. How do you say nimchal? Atonement?
Atonement. It's atoned for.
Okay, atonement.
For.
Thank you. Atoned for. Okay, so not only that avera is atoned for, but all his averot that he didn't even think about right now. Kol nimchalin lo kol avonotav. Look how strong it is, the busha. אוקיי? לא רק עבירה זו, אלא הכל נמחל. כל הטומאה, all the טומאה that stuck to him because all the עבירות that he did, everything, not only is נמחל, okay, but is also, afterwards we learn, we see in the Gemara, is also הופך לו לזכויות. כל העבירות, בן אדם שעושה תשובה והוא מתבייש, הוא חוזר בתשובה, כל העבירות נעשות, כל הזדונות נעשות לו כזכויות, אוקיי? הקדוש ברוך הוא, I think this is where הקדוש ברוך הוא is connecting into הרב דסלר, or הרב דסלר is ממש connecting into הקדוש ברוך הוא, בתובנה הזאת שזה חייב להיות מחובר אל הלב. רק המעשים זה לא שווה כלום. זה שווה, זה כבר משהו. It is something, but it's not the road to tshuva. Okay? The tshuva is going to come from connecting to your inner thoughts and your inner nefesh, neshama, and feeling ashamed about what you did. Okay?
Right.
Rav Dessler, excuse me?
No, I wanted to say something. To me, that's a little simplistic because, you know, I'm embarrassed. I also feel embarrassed or ashamed of a lot of things that I've done in my life, and I regret them. But that means that everything I've done wrong is wiped out?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's a good thing, but...
Isn't that good news? Isn't that good news?
It is, but okay. It just seems very...
Look, it's not I said it. It says it in the Gemara. זה מסכת ברכות. כל הברכות נמחלים לו. יאללה. לכי על זה. Take it with you.
Do I have to admit it to others, though? That's the thing. Or just Hashem? When you ask slicha, you have to go to the person and ask them, you know, for forgiveness. But can I be ashamed without admitting it to somebody? Hey, you know, this is a stupid thing.
Okay, so you're asking a very good question, and I think we see over here, and it reminds us what the Rambam says, the different stages of tshuva, okay? But what does it mean that you're very ashamed about yourself? Are you going to ever make that mistake again?
No. Okay. Let's say no.
That's a question. Suppose somebody does.
Tshuva.
אוקיי, הבושה, אני אסביר את זה בעברית ואחרי זה באנגלית. הבושה מביאה אותנו להתחרט על המעשים. וזה, this already has two stages in it. It has the שלב of the וידוי, זה להסכים להגיד לעצמי, to tell myself, I made a mistake. I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed, I can't show my face. I am so embarrassed about it. So first of all, there's the vidui. What happened? Why are people not embarrassed? Because they're not even willing to admit to themselves that they made this mistake. This is what we said before. Yetzer hara lo noten lanu. He's feeding us different things that we're not even willing to admit to ourselves that we made a mistake. And if you made a mistake and you feel very embarrassed about it, the second stage will probably go to the person and ask for forgiveness. זה בדרך כלל מה שזה אמור להוביל אותך, ללכת לבן אדם השני ולבקש סליחה. And the last stage of the tshuva is when this situation comes again, when you find yourself in the same situation and you're not going to make that mistake again. Then you'll know, that's כאילו the חותמת גומי, the stamp, that you really did tshuva. Okay? But today we're really emphasizing what the Gemara says, and Rav Dessler talks about it, is that כל העושה דבר עבירה ומתבייש, מוחלין לו על כל עוונותיו. And he gives a very cute example of a person that has to go through surgery, and he goes and he's going out of his way, and he's going to pay so much money for a surgeon that's going to cut him open and cause him a lot of pain, and even though he's willing to do it, because this is what's going to make him healthy again. Okay? Okay. בוא נראה מה השעה. Okay, let's look. I hope I brought it for you over here. One second. Let me see the paper. לא הבאתי את זה. Okay, I guess I forgot to put in your paper. So how is a person going to do the tshuva? How does it really work? Okay, now we're going to talk from like more psychological point of view. How does it really work? להרגיש את הבושה. Okay, Rav Dessler says, what can you do? The minute that you make a bad choice, you're a rasha. נכון? אז איך ישוב הרשע להיות בינוני? How can the rasha go back to making a good choice, to the option of making a good choice? How can he do tshuva? And he gives us a beautiful explanation. And he says like this. He says, "Etza achat leze." There's one. He thinks there's only one way to go about this. He says, for a rasha, for a person that is now feeling very low about himself, feeling very bad, he's saying, Hashem is never going to accept my tshuva. Look where I am. Look what things I did.
I don't hear you.
How is he going to do tshuva?
We
First
can't
of all,
hear you.
the stage of a person when he's not able to think straight or to think good things about himself, he calls mochin de katnut. Mochin is brains, is our thoughts, and katnut is milshon katan, very small. Okay, mochin de katnut is a person that is not able to think highly of himself. He's not able to think what Hashem wants from him. הוא לא מחובר לתורה, הוא לא מחובר לצד החיובי של החיים. He's very negative about himself and about life and about Hashem and about the Torah. That's mochin de katnut.
What does that have to do?
What does he have to do?
What does that have to do with the Torah? Someone who has less self-confidence. What does that have to do with the Torah? He can be.
Because the Torah teaches us how to feel good about ourselves and about the people around us. נכון, למשל להיות בעין טובה. הוא לא מחובר למקומות האלה. אוקיי? זה מוחין דקטנות. אז מה העצה שלו? הוא אומר, להשיב אל ליבו גדלות המוחין. כלומר, you should remember if we're talking about a rasha that made a bad choice and he's feeling mochin de katnut, he's in a very not good place with himself, he should remember, all what he has to do is remember who he was, how he felt when he was on the opposite side, when he was on mochin de gadlut, when he was able to think straight, to think positive about himself, about his life. What's going to happen over there? When he's going to be able to remember what it is like to be mochin de gadlut, he's going to all of a sudden realize what a big mistake he made. And זה לא מתאים לו, זה לא מתאים לבן אדם במוחין דגדלות לעשות כאלה מעשים, לחשוב כאלה מחשבות רעות. So if we're going to look at the graph, what's going to happen? He's all the way at the bottom. He's going to think about mochin degadlut. He's going to be there for a split moment. He's going to realize what a big mistake he did. He's going to be so ashamed. He's going to go back down to the ashma. And after he's going to feel the ashma, he's going to go back up to do tshuva. Becky, ma...
I don't understand. To me, it's, I don't know, it doesn't make, somebody who...
לא שומעת אותך טוב, בקי.
אני לא מבינה מה את אומרת.
מה את לא מבינה?
No, I don't understand how he's going to get back by thinking about what he was. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was always like that. Mochin b'ktanut. How does he take himself out of that?
Okay.
What is his process?
As I know, okay, I want to give you an example, and I also want to remind you something. Okay, I think it was towards the end of last year. I don't remember which story it was from Rabbi Nachman, but one of the things that we learned is that what is the aim of the good times in our life? Do you remember? כשטוב לנו, כשיש לנו שמחה, שברוך השם אנחנו נמצאות באור ולא בצל. מה צריך לעשות שם? אתם זוכרות? מישהי זוכרת? אנחנו צריכים לשמור, לזכור את הרגעים האלה, כדי שכשנהיה בירידה, נתחזק ונזכור שגם יכול להיות טוב. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, but I think I didn't understand it then also.
What?
Later. I think that was my problem. I think I didn't really understand what that meant. I mean,
look, at every person at every stage of life, at any minute, he can look and say, I have many problems. I'm not I'm not healthy. My maskolet is not high enough. My parents are not getting along. My sister has some kind of issues with herself, mental issues. כל הזמן יש לנו בעיות בחיים. אבל מה עוזר לנו לחיות את החיים בשמחה? להסתכל ולראות את הדברים הטובים שיש לנו. לזכור את כל הטוב שהקדוש ברוך הוא נתן לנו בעולם הזה. Okay? When we're in a good stage, when things are going good for us, when we're happy, וכשהכל טוב, אז אנחנו נאחזות בטוב הזה, וזה המחסנים שלנו, שיתנו לנו מאגרים של שמחה וכוח לעבור את התקופה הקשה. That's what we learned last year בסיפורים של רבי נחמן. Over here, it's very similar. And I'm going to give you an example from the story that we all know. The 10 brothers, okay, 10 achim, were very mad at Yosef, and they threw him into the pit. And they wanted to kill him. That was the plan, right? But they said, wait, we'll eat and drink, and afterwards we'll kill him. And meanwhile, they put him in the pit so he won't run away. So they sat and they ate and they drank. And then what did they do? They did Birkat HaMazon. Okay? What does it mean that they're doing Birkat HaMazon? Okay? Nevarech le'Eloheinu. They're trying to thank God for all the whatever, for the food and whatever's Birkat HaMazon. And then suddenly, Yehuda got up and he said, 1 second, how can we 1 minute levarech le'Elokeinu, and the second minute we're going to do Avirah, we're going to kill Yosef? Even though they thought that they're doing the right thing, by the way. They had טיעונים, למה זה הדבר הנכון, אבל לא ניכנס לזה עכשיו. אבל פתאום הסתירה הזאת בין מוחין דגדלות, נברך לאלוהינו, לבין המוחין דקטנות, they're jealous about Yosef and they want to kill him, it all of a sudden clashed. And then what happened? They took him out of the pit and they sold him, and they didn't kill him. And because they sold him, Am Yisrael had food in Egypt for 7 years. Okay? And the Midrash says, זה כמה שהקדוש ברוך הוא רבה חיבתו לישראל. Okay? So it's very interesting over here what Rav Dessler says. He says, when you're down there in the pit, all you have to remind yourself is who you really are, who you really can be, who you were for a split moment. And then realize from that point when you're going to be up there, even though it's for a split second, but when you're going to remember the wrong thing that you did and you're going to feel ashamed about it, then you're going to go back down again. הבושה והפדיחה כל כך נוראי, זה ממש מייסר את הנפש. And then you're going to want to do tshuva, and you're going to go back up there and you're going to do tshuva. And this is the ta'alich, this is the process that the Rasha is going to be doing. Okay, this is what Rav Dessler says. He says also very nice that before Kodem Achet, before the Chet, our heart is already prepared to do tshuva. Why? He says it's just like a seed. When you put the seed in the ground, in the dirt, what happens to the seed? It gets moldy, it splits into two, it falls apart, it's very smelly. But from there, a beautiful tree is going to grow. And he says this is exactly the talich of tshuva. Okay? HaKadosh Baruch Hu planted the seed in our heart. He's waiting for it to rot, for the seed to rot, to realize the busha of the chataim. And from there, we can, our tree can grow to a tree of tshuva. If it would sound nice, it doesn't sound so great, but זה המקום של התשובה. Okay? And this is another beautiful explanation that for what we daven every day in 18, melech memit u'mechayev u'matzmiach Yeshua. Okay? קודם הוא ממית, אוקיי? קודם אתה מרגיש כמו מת, אתם זוכרות את המת? ידעו חטאים, אתה לא מחובר לחטאים שלך, אתה במוחין דקטנות, ורק משם, מהבושה הגדולה של הממית הזה, הוא מצמיח את הישועה. So Arav Dessler says that on Rosh Hashanah, our job during the tefillah and the tkiyot, and maybe if we're going to go according to the three passages of Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot, is actually to do tshuva from our heart. When we're doing Hamlacha, okay, Malchuyot, זה קבלת עול מלכות שמיים בלב. We say many psukim, our 18 is full of psukim of קבלת עול מלכות שמיים. But Rav Dessler says, look inside your heart where you want to be מקבל עול מלכות שמיים. להרגיש את הרצון שלנו, את התשוקה, את ההתלהבות. אוקיי? להרגיש את זה מתחבר לתוך הלב. Not to say it from your brain because you know that this is the right thing to say and this is what you're taught to say and this is what says in the machzor, so you're going to say. But to try to really want to live your life, to now get עול מלכות שמיים ולהמליך את הקדוש ברוך הוא, לא מהשכל אלא מהלב, כי זה הרצון האמיתי, כי זה התשוקה שלנו להמליך את הקדוש ברוך הוא. And then we have zichronot. Zichronot, I think, is very easy over here after we learn this shiur, to take our reality and connect it to our good zichronot, חוויות טובות שהיו לנו בחיים, שיחבר את זה ללב שלנו. So it will be like a very big storage, like a big מחסן for the minute that we have to use it in order to remember who we are and what we are, in order to remember the מוחין דגדלות. Okay? And the last one is shofarot. And shofarot, you're supposed to feel in your heart, not in your ears. Okay? The ears are supposed to be connected to your heart, to feel that it's a wake-up call for you. You should feel the tkiyot inside your heart, every single מיתר שבלב שהוא פתאום זב ונע ואומר, וואו, חייבים להתעורר פה לתשובה של הלב. We still have a few more minutes, so I'm going to first say something that you don't have in your papers, and then we're going to go back to the paper, to the Sfat Emet. But what we're talking about now is tshuva me'alev. And the name of the shiur, I hope that I wrote it down on the top, was tshuva me'alev. Because we also have tshuva me'ir'ah. Okay, Rav Kook divides the tshuva to two main streams of tshuva. We have tshuva me'ir'ah, being afraid of what's going to happen to me after all the chata'im that I did, or being afraid of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of the punishment, of the life that I'm going to have if I'm not going to do tshuva. יש לזה מקום, okay? יש לזה מקום, אבל HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants our heart, like we said before. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants tshuva me'ahava, okay? What is tshuva me'ahava? Tshuva me'ahava is to realize that we want to do tshuva, not that we have to do tshuva, that we want to do tshuva. Okay? To realize the truth inside our heart and to feel the busha and to wanna be different. Okay? Not because I'm afraid of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but because I want to connect to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And in order to connect to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, I have to stop doing chata'im and averot. Maybe I'm going to take one more minute to say that milechatchila, we said it many times, our neshama is a piece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he put inside our bodies, the neshama. So once one of my students asked me, if we have a neshama elokit inside us, why do we have to do tshuva? We are actually connected already to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the beautiful answer is that we are connected, but we have like a very big curtain, a masach barzel, shechotzetz b'neinu, that's differentiating between us. And what is that masach? What is that curtain made out of? All our different chataim, our avonot. The only thing that's differentiating between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, מה שמבדיל בינינו לבין הקדוש ברוך הוא, זה החטאים שלנו. So we have to get rid of our chataim. And of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to get rid of our chataim from a place of love, ממקום של אהבה ותשוקה ורצון להתחבר אל הקדוש ברוך הוא, רצון להתקרב אל הקדוש ברוך הוא, מהתשוקה הגדולה וההתלהבות לקבל עול מלכות שמיים, להמליך את השם עלינו, לא בגלל פחד, אלא כי אני רוצה את הקרבה הזאת אל אבינו שבשמיים. אוקיי? We have 2-3 more minutes, then I want to sum up with a very nice idea. This is not a Rav Dessler anymore, but because a Rav Dessler was talking about tshuva me'alev, there's a very nice Torah דווקא שאנחנו מוצאים אותה אצל הגויים. I mentioned it once. It's called the Aponopono, and this הגישה הפסיכולוגית הזאת for doing tshuva is actually, I was very excited when I found it in the Sfat Emet, okay? The Sfat Emet was talking about mitzvat Hashavat Aveda, okay? I think I brought it for you, okay? In Parashat Ki Tetzeh, only 2 weeks ago. כי תראה שור, לא תראה שור אחיך, השב תשיבם. I'm going to read it over here and then I'm going to explain it, okay? You have it in your papers. יש לומר שכל מי שרואה בחברו טועה מדרך הישר. We're not really talking about the cow of our friend that got lost. Shor in Hebrew is a cow, and it's also milshon shuru. Shuru abitu ru'u. It's also another word for our sight, for seeing. So you're not only seeing your friend's donkey or horse or cow that got lost, but you're also seeing your friend that lo aleinu oseh chataim, and he's losing his way in life. Okay? ויש לומר שור לשון הבטה. Okay? שור is another word, another way of saying looking. או שאר תנועה, רעה, שצריך לתקנו. You're seeing that your friend is doing a bad deed, a bad action, הוא חוטא. והעצה, what is the tip that he's giving us over here? על ידי תשובה. You have to do תשובה. כמו שכתוב בספרים הקדושים, כל מה שרואה האדם, anything that a person sees, שייך לו. It belongs to him. If you see somebody doing a chet, if you see somebody that is being nasty, if you see somebody that is whatever, going on a straying off, okay, he's going to a wrong place, it belongs to you. וצריך לשוב על זה. And you have to make tshuva.
We always talk about.
מה?
That's like the ra'i that we're always talking about.
נכון, בדיוק, אבל תראי איזה יופי. טוב, תכף נדבר על זה. ועל ידי זה מביא רור תשובה גם בחברו. When you do tshuva, when you look inside your heart and do tshuva, in a cosmic way, it's going to turn your friend around and he's going to also be doing tshuva. וזה שנאמר, השב תשיבם. Why am I saying Aponopono? Because there was a very big essay that was written about this, about a total goy, okay? A goy from Hawaii. And he was some kind of a therapist. He's not a doctor, some kind of a therapist. And he went to a hospital and he said, he went, עשה סיבוב במחלקה, he went to all the sick people and he looked at them. And then he went back to his room and he did tshuva with himself. And I know you're not going to believe it, but it says that they all got better. And this was the basis for the mechkar of Torah, what's called Aponopono. Okay? And Aponopono is exactly what the Khatam Sofer is saying over here. When you look inside yourself and do tshuva, when you do tshuva, without talking to your friend at all, you're going to see that also he is going to be doing tshuva. Okay? כל מה שרואה האדם שייך לו. וצריך לשוב על זה. ועל ידי זה מביא הרהור תשובה גם בחברו. וזה שנאמר, השב תשיבם. Okay? I want to give an example that I just heard about it, and then ואז אנחנו נסיים פה. A guy comes over to his rabbi, and he tells him, I can't live with my wife anymore. It's too much. She's not behaving nicely. She's a cruel person, and I don't know. And he goes on and on. And then the rabbi looked at him and he said, you know what? If this is the way she's behaving, I think it means that you have to change the way you're looking at her. And when you're going to change your point of view on your wife, then your הדיבור שלך ישתנה, והמעשים שלך ישתנו. And I want you, don't look at your wife anymore. Forget your wife, and if you want to get divorced, you'll get divorced, and בעיה. But first of all, I want you to look within yourself, and I want you to change your way of looking at your wife, הזווית הראייה שלך, כי אתה מסתכל עליה כעל אישה רעה, תסתכל עליה, תחשוב שהיא אישה טובה. I want you to change the way you talk to her and the way you behave. Come back in a month, and then I'll give you a get to give to your wife. And lo and behold, he comes back after a month, and he says, of course, everything has changed. And the rabbi says, what do you mean? What has changed? And he says, the minute I started talking nicely to her, she's talking back nicely to me. I'm behaving nicely to her. She's doing good things for me. So this is what Abba Shem Tov says, and ככה הוא מפרש את כל הדברים האלה, אדם לאדם מראה. Okay, this is the way we הכל בהתאם לאיך אני מסתכל על העולם, ואיך אני רואה את העולם שהוא מסתכל עליי. And I just thought it was very nice to sum up with this issue, because we're talking about תשובה מהלב, and a lot of times we're looking into ourselves and thinking to ourselves, how am I going to change the world? How am I going to make the world a better place? How are we going to get rid of COVID-19? The government has to do this. Misad HaBriyut has to do that. And Chazal remind us that nobody has to do anything. Everyone has to look inside his heart and look over there for his busha and his hilhoi tshuva. And then we'll see that everyone is going to be in charge of his own tshuva, and things are going to look different. אז בעזרת השם, שנזכה להיות במוחין דגדלות, and do tshuva, and look inside our heart, everybody, כל אחת עם הדבר שלשם היא לוקחת את זה, ושנזכה לבוא בראש השנה, באמת בלב מתרגש, בלב שמח, לקבל מלכויות, זיכרונות, שופרות, ושנזכה כולנו לתשובה שלמה ורפואה שלמה לכל החולים, ובשורות טובות וגאולה קרובה, אמן.
אמן.
Amen.
This year we're really by ourselves, with our live.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
Shana
That was
Tova
very
to everybody.
Shana Tova, Shira. Thank you.
Shana Tova.
Thank you. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Take care of yourselves.
Shana Tova to everybody.
That's what I
Shana Tova לכולם.
Shana Tova.